Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the studios here at Culpeper Media Network. If you don't remember, my name is Jonathan Krawchuk, station manager, and it is my pleasure to welcome into the studio an organization that, unfortunately, for one reason or another, we have not yet had the opportunity to sit down and have a nice discussion. That is going to be changed today as we welcome a wonderful lady that I've known for a number of years, Ms. Patty Werick, president of the Culpeper Humane Society. Patty, thank you for coming in today.
You're very welcome. It's my pleasure.
You know, we were talking about, I was just saying that we unfortunately haven't had the opportunity to have you in studio, but you have been around Culpeper for a long time doing amazing work. So first off, before we even get started in the details of the Culpeper Humane Society, I want to thank you and your organization for the work that you guys do each and every day.
Thank you.
So for those who are not familiar with the Humane Society, one of the things that we were talking about in our pre-show is connecting to people through animals, which I think is a great thing to say and a great thing to do. So for those who are unfamiliar with the Humane Society, can you kind of talk us, what is the overall purpose of the Humane Society, and just give us kind of a broad overview of the Humane Society in general?
Good question.
I like starting off with good questions.
Yeah, that works out well for me too. We have a mission, and our mission is to have the Culpeper become a no-kill community. And we have strategies to do that, and it's very simple, basically to reduce the intake of animals that go into the shelter and to increase the outtake of animals coming out of the shelter. And we have programs on each end of those two strategies to fulfill each of those. The other thing is that I'm fond of saying that we help pets. We help dogs and cats. We rescue them and readopt them, rehab them, take them to the vets. But all of them are associated with a person. So we really help people in the community. The seniors, the disabled, the veterans. We do a lot of work for those people so that they can keep their pets and keep them out of the shelter.
All right, so when you talk about, I love the fact that it's something you don't always hear when you're talking about, it's not just an animal, but you're working with the person as well. I think
Absolutely.
in instances in people's lives, it's never been looked at like that, and I think that's an important part of the way
Yes.
the Humane Society operates.
That is exactly right, and especially when I go in front of the Board of Supervisors, I always impress upon them the fact that don't look at us coming in as a bunch of aged women, and especially to our faces, boo-hooing dogs and cats. There's certainly that, but that we are a community group, that we help where other people do not have the skills that we have to help. So where a senior lady, a disabled person, even during times of COVID, when they were no longer going to the senior center, we made home deliveries of pet food, and often we were the only person that individual saw that week. So other people may be able to help them with groceries and rent and help them with electricity, but we help them with their pets.
And you know, there are some instances where that pet, that member of the family is that. It may be the only member of their family, their companion, that they have during such times, and keeping that pet healthy is keeping that relationship healthy, and it's helping that individual as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. There's been studies done about the comfort and well-being of elderly people having a pet, because that's the one constant in their life.
Now, Patty, when you were talking earlier, you mentioned a couple things that I wanted to specifically touch on. One was the partnerships that you touched on with organizations and individuals in the community. And another thing you mentioned are the programs and services that you offer. In this series of programs, it is my hope to get, as we shine a light on the Humane Society, that we learn about a lot of those two particular attributes, because that really, I think, is the signature of what the Humane Society stands for, those partnerships that you work with and the programs that you have in order to maximize outtake of pets and minimize the intake of animals into the shelter. And as we look at that, one of the ones I wanted to focus on today is probably, and you can correct me if I'm wrong because it happens quite often, one of the most important programs is TNR. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so do me a favor, talk me through what exactly is TNR? What does TNR stand for?
TNR is the acronym Trap, Neuter, and Release. And it is one of the most important programs for reducing the intake into the shelter of cats. Cats can theoretically breed at 4 months old, and they can have 4 to 5 litters a year. And if half of those litters are females, you can see how that continues to compound itself yearly. And the lady that says, I only have 2 cats outside, next year will have 15. And if she doesn't raise her hand to yell to us, then the next year she'll have 40. And it just keeps on rolling.
It sounds like a really bad math problem I had in high school.
Yes, yes, that is exactly right. So it's important that the 1 and 2 that you have now that we get to and spay and neuter. Cats are one of the only domesticated animals that can actually exist in itself in the wild, because they will scrounge for food. And it's not one house, it can be 2 houses, and they treat them like separate bistros. So, you know, if somebody says, I don't want these cats to come around, I say, stop feeding them then. They will look for another place. And the shelter says the same thing. If you don't want them, stop feeding them. They will go to another place. Hopefully those people will raise their hands, and we will go and spay and neuter and return them there. Because we get a lot of calls from people that say, I have stray cats lurking around, they want to eat, I don't want them, I just want you to come and get them. We do not have a program where we go trap them, vet them, and then have a place to put them. There's a myth going around that there's some barn in the rural county of Culpeper that will take all feral cats. There is no barn.
The feline Valhalla. I've heard of such a thing.
Yeah, the Valhalla. Yes, no. And people who have dairy barns and horse barns will tell you, no thank you, we have enough cats now. So TNR for us is a whole program designed for us to go to your site, trap the cats, and they come back to my garage, which is air conditioned and heat controlled, to spend the night, so that we have them all trapped and ready to go, and they haven't eaten for surgery. The next morning, I have a driver with our van take them to a low-cost clinic where I've already made appointments. They stay overnight at that clinic after surgery for observation, and then they get a whole other 24 hours being in a clean, warm place. If anything should happen, we've got staff there. And then the next morning, I send a driver with our van to pick them up, and then the trappers come back and take all the trapped kitties and release them back to where they were being cared for. That's the program.
Okay, that is a great overall view. I want to back up a little bit because I'm extremely curious. TNR, go back to trap.
Yeah.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say you don't go out there with cages galore by yourself and somehow, you know, open up 50 cans of tuna to get these cats to come to you. You mentioned like you have trappers go out. Is there a partnership or an alliance or some sort that you work to get all, because it seems like it's a lot
Yes.
of work.
When I started, I was the only trapper in the group, and I knew that as president, that couldn't be my role. So what I did was I reached out to all my buddies in other rescue groups within all the counties around us. And some were trapping in Culpeper County anyway, just because that was their mission, like For the Cat's Sake, Mad Cats, Cat Action Team, and of course, my good friend Elizabeth Larson.
Oh, she has an organization as well?
Yes. At any rate, so there's 4 other groups that had trappers and were trapping here anyway. I made them a deal. I said, I will make the appointments. All you have, I will get all the trapping sites. People send us, and we schedule them with the trapper. I say at the beginning of the month, what can you trap on what day?
Yeah.
And they all sign up for that. They only have to trap once a month. That's all they do, and they bring it to my house. I take it from there, and then they come back and release them. We also pay for all the vetting, so that a group like For the Cat's Sake can say, well, we trapped 100 cats last year in Culpeper County. That's in addition to the other cats they have trapped.
Okay.
But they didn't have to pay for this 100.
Yeah.
They got that free, but they added it to their number. So they go to write a grant, and number one, they are working with another group, which always smells like success, and they got 100 cats free done to add to that number.
So I mean, you're really checking a lot of boxes.
Yes.
As you do this with partnerships, keeping costs down, and keeping the
Yes.
population healthy and in control.
Yes, and the reason that we could pay for all the vetting, which is spay, neuter, rabies, and distemper, but also often these kitties may come in and they have to have an eye removed or a tail removed, or they have an abscess on their side, or they have an upper respiratory infection. We treat all of that because these poor kitties may be the only time they're seen by a vet. The reason we've been able to do that is because we got a $50,000 grant to do just TNR for 2 years.
Oh wow.
So once we got that grant, I said, and we'll pay for all the costs. Well, there was no downside for these. And the unexpected partnership came from, I've got 5 black cats, 5 black kittens. Can you take 1 or 2, just so I'm not adopting 5 black ones and everybody has a black one to adopt? Or, hey, I just got in a big load of kitten food. Do you need some? I have some new cat trap covers. I have some new shelters. We share. Our resources now have quadrupled. So our trappers have quadrupled, our resources have quadrupled, and we now work as an enormous little army in this area. So it has been a very fruitful. Last year, during the pandemic, 2020, we TNR'd over 500 cats.
Oh, over 500 cats?
Yes.
That's incredible.
During the pandemic.
You all were extremely busy.
Yes. Yes.
All right. So I have even more questions, but I want to back up just a little bit. So if folks are interested in anything that we've talked about, what you do, please share with us your contact information. How can folks watching get a hold of the Culpeper Humane Society?
You can send us an email.
Okay, is that the easiest way?
It is the easiest, most direct way. You can go on our Facebook page and say, I have a stray cat colony, and someone will say, send an email to info@culpeperhumanesociety.com. That's always the answer, because from that email, we find out information, and we send you a form and agreement, and then put you on our wait list and proceed along those lines.
Okay. All right, so and then find you on Facebook. You mentioned email is the greatest method of contact.
Yes.
And again, you can visit the website at Culpeper.
Yes, you can go on the website too. There's a portal to that as well.
And that's culpeperhumane.org.
Culpeperhumane.org,
Okay.
correct.
All right, so Patty, with the amazing numbers of just last year alone, you mentioned 500 cats. And I think one of the things that there are other organizations that I have had discussions with, and it's always, you have to think about sometimes, yes, you're helping reduce the population of cats, but going back to what you said earlier, 2 cats can become 14, and if a train moves in a certain direction, 5 miles an hour, you have, 60 cats next year, and again, it goes past that. Taking care of that many cats is really helping even farther down the line. I mean, it helps with the lives of the cats who were there.
Oh, yes.
And it helps keep those colonies healthy, helps control the population. It really branches out in more ways than people think.
Yes, yes. And to the community, when we say they'll have a healthier cat colony, means that that you don't need to worry about a rabies outbreak, especially if you're on a farm, you own a dairy farm or a horse farm. With us giving them their rabies vaccine, you have a much stable, healthier community. It's a big program.
It does. It sounds like an amazing program. Tell us about some of the individuals that you work with at the Humane Society.
Well, just for this program, what I have is a distribution list of about 10 transporters, because each month we may have, I may need 10 transporters going one way to drop off and another way to pick up. And that's one thing if it's going to Manassas or to Charlottesville. But because of COVID, many of the closer ones have been closed to us because of jurisdiction. They want to tend to their own counties. So we've had to go further away, like Harrisonburg and Ashland, Virginia, which is an hour and a half. So I use 2 drivers.
You are working like crazy, young lady.
Yeah, all our volunteers work like crazy because there's the transporters, then I do the dispatching for the TNR, getting everything lined up. Then there's the whole cadre of trappers that trap and transport them to my home. And you have to work with the people that have that. The hardest thing, hard to believe, is to say we're trapping on Sunday, so don't feed them on Saturday. They were hungry. As you show up Sunday morning with your trap with food in it, those cats are like, I just ate.
I'm good.
I'm good. I'm not going in that trap.
Well, you talked about all the work that you do, and it's pretty. And we are just really, to be honest, the conversation has been about TNR today. One of the many programs that Culpeper Humane Society does, and as you mentioned, the insane amount of volunteers, trappers. How many people do you have on staff helping you coordinate this?
Right now, each one of our board members owns a program.
Okay.
And I own the TNR program because I was the one that created the alliance, so it naturally fell to me. So each one of our board members, they're not just voters on a board, they each have a program so that we always have oversight, and then we have managers. And it's a lot like Burger King, as a matter of fact, as you go down to the thing. So, and we're always promoting people as backups too, because it's volunteerism. It's not, paid employees. We're all volunteers.
Well, one of the things that I have learned over the years is that a working board is a healthy board. And I think having all these individuals.
Very well said.
Can we talk a little bit about your board? Do we want to name them, or do they want to remain in the shadows?
I think that they would be happy to be named. I'm very proud of them. We have a great board. the person who handles as a secretary of the board is Deborah Sadeh, and she's been one of my friends and one of my artists when I owned the loft for years and years. And she has a deep background in human resources. She handles all the volunteers coming in and will interview them. They fill out a form, she interviews them, puts them where she thinks they're going to fit best, and she hands them out to all the other directors and managers. And then my dear sister friend Maureen Reese, she has a unique knack for interviewing for adopters, because this is what we sweat. Where is our kitty and dog going to? She interviews them, she approves them or not approves them, and then they come to a person who's the adoption coordinator, who will do a virtual, now we do virtual home visits.
Tell us about the rest of the persons on your board.
The other person is Jen Sisson. Her and her husband started out as an adopter, and she raised her hand and wanted to become, she was a volunteer, her and her husband, and did a variety of things. And she raised her hand and said, I would really love to own something, and I would love to own the Pet Pantry, which is another one of our programs. And Jen and her husband also foster. I forgot my husband.
Well, okay. Well, you can't
Oh
do that.
boy!
You can't do that. You're in trouble
So
now.
my husband, Bill Werick, he lives with me, so he volunteers.
Board member by default, maybe?
Husbands, remember this, if your wife volunteers, you too will volunteer.
Understood.
But he respects and appreciates the organization, and he has a soft, compassionate heart. He does a little bit of everything. Mostly he transports. He also is our treasurer, and because of his background in mathematics, what I need him mostly for is to do analysis for us, for financials, and he does the end of the year taxes, that sort of thing.
So it sounds like you have a pretty well-oiled machine.
Yes.
I love the fact that, I'm going to go back and you mentioned a couple of things. You did mention the Pet Pantry program, which is another one of your amazing programs that we hope to cover in a later program. I want to back up to one of your board members, I believe it was Jen, that you said started off as, I think, a foster, or she adopted and kind of moved through the thing.
Yes.
Moved through the ranks, I guess,
Yes.
for lack of a better term.
Like Burger King.
There you go. Got to move up those ranks. But I want to go back. One of the main goals that we talked about at the beginning is maximizing outtake, minimizing intake. So if folks are interested, if somebody's watching and they're like, you know what, I would like to adopt a cat or a dog. Go dogs. If somebody is curious, what is the process? I mean, do they just send you an email? Is that where we start? Or do they jump onto your website?
Well, yes, on our website is a place for our adoptable animals, and that automatically goes to our Pet Finder page, where you find pictures and a whole brief, not only a description and specifics about the pet, but also our adoption protocols and processes.
Well, because one of the things we were talking about earlier is connecting to people through animals, and we want to make sure that, I'm sure you want to make sure that the individuals are able to care.
Oh, yes.
And will be a good fit for this animal.
Yes, and that the pet is a good fit for their home too. And we take this deadly serious. So they fill out an application, and then if I have when I see the application come in, I might want to clarify a few things. For instance, I said to this one gentleman, you know, you're in Roanoke, I'm in Culpeper. That's a long drive for this kitty. Oh, that's no problem at all. Well, as soon as I hear that, then everything else looks good. I send it then to Maureen so she can vet the couple. But everybody putting in an application does not get a pet. We can take our time filter through and find the perfect, what we
Find
would
the right
consider,
home.
yeah, and put it in the right home.
Yeah.
And we look for people with compassion, experience, a stable home, that have had pets before that have perished of an old age, that it's symbolic that they've kept the animal with them to the end.
So again, to start that process, we'll jump on to culpeperhumane.org, send you an email at info@culpeperhumanesociety.com. But, one of the things is, when you see some of these animals, that's when you want to try to adopt them.
Oh, yes, because a picture says 1,000 words. I think that they blank out and stop reading about the pet because it's the eyes that capture them, or a tilt of a nose or something. So when they go into our adoptable animals, it goes right to our Pet Finder page, and right from the Pet Finder page, you can find a link to our adoption application. And once that's filled out, it comes right to us.
All right. Well, as we begin to wrap up, I just want to say, we talked about adopting animals. We talked about TNR today. It is our hope as we continue this program, we will talk more about more of the facets of the Culpeper Humane Society, educate the public, help them understand, and get the word out about the great work that you do. One of the things we talked about throughout the program are volunteers. I'm assuming that you can always get more volunteers.
Always use more volunteers. That way we don't just always have to ask the same people to do the same thing. So more volunteer homes, more volunteers to do the transports. Right now, that is our biggest need.
Okay. So again, if somebody wants to donate their time, or if they want to donate something else,
that is always, first of all, perfect color and always fits. Yes, yes. I know that many people think of the Culpeper Humane Society as a foster and adopt organization, but we are so much more than that. And I'd like the community to take more advantage of the services we offer, and help us in that endeavor.
Well, that is one, if not the singular purpose of the program series that we're going to do with you. Patty, I want to thank you for your time. I again want to thank you for your effort. You, your board, your volunteers, the work that they do is extremely important, and it's making a difference, and we appreciate it.
Thank you very much, John. Thanks for doing this, too.
My pleasure. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've had a great conversation with Patty Werick, President of the Culpeper Humane Society. And if you are interested in anything that we've spoken about today, please reach out to them. Learn more, learn how you can adopt, make a difference, donate, or volunteer your time. You can reach out, info@culpeperhumanesociety.com. You can visit their website at culpeperhumane.org. You can also find them on Facebook. Either way, you might find that special companion for your family right here in our own Culpeper community. Until we see you out and about with your dog or your cat, you have yourself a great day and, of course, a better tomorrow.